Hello, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Trina, and we're the DnD Bears.
So today we thought we would do a little video on the most common backstories that aren't necessarily the best backstory for your character, and give you a solution or an idea of what might be something better or something that could add to that backstory to make it go from meh to awesome.
So the first one is not really having a backstory at all. It's possible to create a character on the fly. You can just write down the first thing that comes to your mind. In fact, we did that in one of our first videos when we battled each other. But doing so makes it so that the DM doesn't have a lot to work with. You don't have a lot to give your player motivation. Your character just doesn't have a lot of substance to begin with.
Now, we get it. It's really easy just to write down the first few things that come to your mind, and creating a little bit more fleshed out of a backstory takes a few minutes. But it's worth it. So what we suggest is to take a few minutes to sit down and really think about what makes up your character. What makes your character you? And the reason this is so important is, sure, it's great to go through a story that the DM has planned, but the absolute best D&D campaigns that we've ever been a part of is ones where the DM interweaves your backstory to become major plot points in the D&D campaign. If you don't have a backstory, well, then there's nothing to weave in. And so, when you have family that's created, important events in your life, the DM can then take those events and apply them to the story, and suddenly that story will become much more personal and much more fun to you.
The second one is having dead parents. Now, dead parents is a super common backstory for a lot of characters in every form of media, be that comics or TV shows or movies or D&D, and it can be really good, but it can be really bad. What's really bad is if you just don't want to take the time to make any connections in your life, or you don't want to worry about writing them, or it doesn't really matter to your character that your parents are dead. If you're just all like, oh yeah, my parents are dead. That's it.
Man.
Then it's just nothing. It's nothing.
But the fact of the matter is, losing your family is a big and negative effect that happened in your character's life. And it should be reflected as such in your backstory. Now, we're not saying that you should always have your family be alive. But real quick on that note, it is cool to have family that is still living, because that gives your DM ammunition to use in his story. Maybe your brother shows up somewhere, or your mom and dad, something happens to them. You might think, oh man, I don't want to deal with my family getting hurt, but that's some of the most gold plot stuff that could possibly happen, is that your family getting somehow involved in the main plot, and it becomes personal to your character.
But if you do want them to be dead, just don't use it passively. Have it be a way for your character to go out and do something. Change, get revenge, mold the world in a place where they wouldn't have died. Something that makes your character want to go out and do something.
One of the most compelling plot devices that could be used for your character is simply that your parents, let's say your parents were killed, your family were killed, and you don't know who killed them. And so the DM can then weave that sort of thing into the story, and that mystery becomes a mystery your whole party can solve. And it's really cool, it's really motivating, and it's not just a passive, yeah, I don't have parents either. You know?
The third one is if you have no motivation in your backstory. There's no reason for your character to go out adventuring. They have nothing they want to do. They're just a plain Jane. And for the DM, it feels like pulling teeth to get you to go out on an adventure and go out and do something.
The truth of the matter is, D&D is an adventure game, and the character that you create should be willing and wanting to go on an adventure. An easy way to do this they don't have to be some crazy adventurer that's already adventured, but they should have passions or hobbies or things that they want. Maybe they want to go on an adventure. Maybe they're greedy for money, or they need money to help their family. Their family that is alive. But they have these other hobbies, these other motivations that pushes them forward into the adventuring world. For the most part, it's usually best not to have an adventurer that's just adventuring for adventure's sake, though that can be good. But it's gold when they're adventuring because of some motivation, whether that is to become a powerful person or to help their family or something like that.
In the end, it's your responsibility to want to go on an adventure. The DM simply presents options to you and opportunities, and you should be the driving factor in those adventures.
Exactly.
For the fourth one, it's if you've already done everything. It's cool, or it could be cool for you, but it doesn't make a lot of sense for you to be a seasoned adventurer when you're just starting what is supposed to be your adventure. It isn't fair to your teammates for you to already be this seasoned warrior who knows everything and can defeat everybody and already has when they haven't done any of that. Also, this leaves your character with little to no room to grow.
Now, this can be a cool thing to have someone that does have a little bit more experience than your average D&D player or your average D&D character. But you need to do something with it. It can't just be someone that's experienced life and then all is well, and this is just the next adventure in their 10,000 adventures, but for some reason they're still level 1. Instead, maybe do something like something happened to you. Maybe a curse was placed on you, and at one point you were very strong, but you are no longer. Maybe you were in a gladiatorial battle, and your left arm got chopped off, and that was your main arm. That's what you attacked with, and suddenly everything you're used to is different because you have to go about life in a different way. Something bad has happened to change your life and weaken you. Then you still have some pretty cool roleplay abilities because you've seen the world, but then you also have that motivation not only to become stronger, but also that underlying negative feeling of, I was once strong and now I'm just so weak. And that could be really fun to play with. Don't just create an all-powerful, all-adventuring character to start with. Make sure that character has room to grow into something more.
And finally, when you're too much of a lone wolf. This is a really common trope. And it's really beloved, and oftentimes it can be really cool. So one of the reasons that a lone wolf is so cool in a book or something like that is because there's an author that is pushing the lone wolf forward. They know when it's time to be alone and when it's time to be with the party. Just remember that D&D is a group activity, and while you can still play the lone wolf and be really cool in that way, you have a responsibility to be with your group as well and play with them.
So our suggestion to you really, as a lone wolf character, is to make your character in such a way and be mentally prepared for character progression. Like Katrina said, this is a group activity. And while it is cool to kind of go off and do your own thing from time to time, the coolest moments come in that group. And so you should be mentally prepared to have your lone wolf slowly, but not too slowly, integrate with the group and start doing more and more things with them and being more and more okay with them. It can be one of the most charming, fun, cool things in the world when there is a lone wolf character that's kind of like, leave me alone. And then, a session or two later, they see you eating food and they come down and they eat with you, or, something like that. And maybe they don't say a lot, but you can slowly see the progression and the change as they become a party member with the group. It can be super fun to see. Your lone wolf character, how he acts when you first create them should be completely different to how they act 6-7 sessions in, and goodness forbid, the last session, they should probably not still be that total lone wolf. They must have character progression for it to work in a D&D setting.
So that's our ideas for how to fix backstories that we feel that are overdone or not very good.
What are some backstories that you see often? Comment below and comment what you would do to make them better.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.